I got home after a 12-hour shift saving strangers' lives. My own wife had changed the locks. My clothes were stuffed into black garbage bags, sitting on the front porch, like I was nobody, like 6 years meant nothing. She was standing in the doorway, arms crossed, face completely empty, and she looked at me the way you look at a stranger you're tired of seeing. "You don't live here anymore. Grab your stuff and go." I stood there in my uniform, still smelling like antiseptic and exhaustion, and I couldn't even form words. My name is Daniel. I'm a paramedic. The last 3 months I have been working. Doubles, sometimes triples, skipping sleep, skipping meals. Doing everything I could to keep us above water after my wife Sarah lost her job. I was the one holding everything together. And this is how she greeted me when I came home. "Sarah, what is happening right now? What's happening is I'm done. This is my house now. Our house. We bought it together." She tilted her head slightly and almost smiled. Not a warm smile. The kind of smile that tells you someone has been planning something for a very long time. "Did we though? Go check the deed, Daniel." Something cold moved through my chest. I had been at every single signing. She told me where to initial where. To sign what each page meant. I never questioned it. She made more money than me at the time. She handled the paperwork. I trusted her the way you trust the person you promised your life to. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. Something in me just went quiet and still. I loaded my bags into my truck, drove to a motel off the highway, sat on the edge of a stiff mattress. In a room that smelled like carpet cleaner and old regret, and I opened my laptop. What I found broke something in me that I don't think ever fully healed. Our joint account, the one we opened right after our wedding, the one I had been depositing every single paycheck into for 2 years straight. Last month's balance was $44,000. Current balance, $82. I sat there and stared at that number for a long time. Then I started scrolling through the transactions, withdrawals, transfers, cash advances. Every single one authorized by Sarah, every single one going to an account I had never seen in my life. I then opened the closing documents from when we bought the house, and I read every single word this time. She was right. The deed only had her name on it, but the mortgage had both of ours. 2 years of my paychecks. 2 years of doubles and overnight shifts and missed holidays. My credit, my name, my sacrifice. All tied to a property that legally belonged only to her. I called the mortgage company. The representative confirmed I was a co-borrower equally responsible for the loan. Then she paused and said something that cut right through me. "Might want to speak with an attorney." I called James the next morning, old friend from years back, family law attorney. He read through everything slowly and carefully, and then he looked up at me with an expression I'll never forget. "She planned this, Daniel. This wasn't anger or impulse. This was calculated. Can she actually do this? Just throw me out like that? On paper, yes, it's her property. But you've been funding that mortgage every month. That gives you serious legal standing. And since you're still legally married, this situation is about to become very complicated for her. So what do I do?" He leaned back in his chair and said it so calmly it almost didn't register. "Stop paying the mortgage. Today, not another cent. James, let her carry the things she thought she owned. Let's see how that feels." I didn't pay that month or the next one. James filed for legal separation, froze the joint assets, and demanded a full accounting of every dollar that had left our account. Then we waited. Sarah lasted 3 weeks before she cracked. She called. Me and I could hear the panic underneath the anger, even though she was trying hard to hide it. "What are you doing? The bank is calling me. We're behind on the mortgage. That's your house though, right? You said so yourself." "Daniel, stop it. This isn't funny. You're right. It really isn't. You need to pay your half." Why would I pay for a house I don't own that I'm not allowed to live in? She was breathing hard now. If this goes into foreclosure, it destroys both of us. Then I'd strongly suggest you figure out where $44,000 went. Silence. Long, heavy, revealing silence. We need to talk. In person. Please, we can figure this out together. You had me living in a motel while you emptied everything we built together, and now you want to figure it out. I made a mistake, Daniel. You made a decision. Every single day for months, you made a decision. Don't call it a mistake. Hung up. 2 days later, James called me back in and slid a folder across his desk without saying a word. A private investigator's report. I opened it. Bank transfers. All of them going to one name, Trevor Walsh. Real estate developer. Married, 2 kids. James let me process it for a moment before he kept going. She's been seeing him for 8 months, made some bad investments, and needed money fast. He convinced Sarah to drain your joint accounts, put the house exclusively in her name, and push you out. The plan was to sell the house, split the profit with him, and disappear together once his divorce finalized. I looked at the photographs. Sarah and Trevor at restaurants, hotels. His hand on the small of her back. My hands went completely cold. The house is worth around $320,000. She owes $260,000 on the mortgage. That's roughly $60,000 in equity. She was going to hand him half of it and walk away like none of it ever happened. I looked up at James. So what? Do I get? And that's when he smiled for the first time. Everything she wasn't counting on. Community property state, Daniel. That house was bought during your marriage with marital funds. You've been paying the loan. It doesn't matter whose name is on the deed. You have a legal claim to that property. And possibly more than half of it. James filed a legal claim against the house the next morning. Froze it completely. Sarah couldn't sell it. Couldn't refinance it. Couldn't make a single move without my signature. The trap she built for me had just closed around her instead. She called me screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. You cannot do this. That is my house. A house you can't afford. How many payments behind are you now? Handle it? With what money, Sarah? You gave it all to Trevor. Dead silence. I know everything. The affair, every transfer. His wife, his children. I know all of it. I could hear her breathing change, anger draining out, and something closer. To fear replacing it, Daniel, please, here is what is going to happen. You agree to sell the house. We split whatever equity is left after you repay every dollar you took from our joint account. That's option 1. And option 2. Option 2 is I forward everything I know to Trevor's wife tonight. And I let this house slide into foreclosure and sit on your credit report for the next 7 years. Your choice. You have until tomorrow morning. She was crying now, genuinely crying. I needed that money. Trevor said it was an investment. He said we were building a future. Trevor was using you the same way you used me. The difference is, I actually loved you. She didn't say anything after that. 3 days later, she signed everything. The house sold in under 2 months. After the mortgage was paid off and the fees were settled, Sarah walked away with $9,000. The woman who had planned all of this for months, who had drained our life savings, who had handed me garbage bags and told me to get out of my own home, walked away with $9,000. I walked away with $23,000, plus the $44,000 she was required to repay once. Trevor's wife found out, and he cut Sarah off without a second thought. James had sent Trevor's wife the full report, anonymously. Professional courtesy, he told me with a straight face. Wife filed for divorce within 2 weeks. She took the children, she took the house. She took everything, and Sarah, the woman who traded her marriage for a man who was never going to choose her, was left with nothing and no one. She called me one last time. You destroyed my life. I let the words sit there for a moment before I answered double quotes no. You made your choices every single day for 8 months. I'd just stopped absorbing the consequences of them. I loved him, Daniel, and I was your husband. I worked myself into the ground for you. I trusted you with everything I had. A long silence. What are you going to do now? Live. Actually live. Something I forgot how to do while I was busy saving everything you were burning down. I hung up. For the last time, the divorce finalized 3 months later. I used the settlement money as a down payment on a condo. 1 bedroom, simple, nothing glamorous, but my name was on that deed, just mine. And I stood in that empty living room on the first night and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. About a year later, I met Amanda, a nurse from the ER. She asked me out after an especially brutal shift when I probably looked like I hadn't slept in a week, which I hadn't. We took it slow, no pressure. No secrets. Just two people who had both been through enough to know what actually mattered. When things got serious, I showed her the deed to my condo. She looked at it, then looked at me. Why are you showing me this? 'Cause I need you to know I own this. Just me, my name. And if we ever buy something together, both our names go on everything, every page, no exceptions. I need that to be something we both agree on before anything else. She was quiet for a moment. Someone really hurt you? Yeah. Not her, Daniel. I know. I just needed to say it out loud to someone who deserved to hear it. We got married the following year. Small ceremony. People who actually meant it when they showed up, and when we sat down to sign the papers on our first home together. I read every single page, slowly, carefully, both our names on everything. Equal in every way, exactly the way it always should have been.